Welcome to Books on Air, the podcast that tells the story behind the book. It includes insights from authors about how they compose their work, what inspires them, and what they hope you'll take away from their book. Here's your host for this episode of Books on Air, Suzanne Harris.
Welcome to the Books on Air podcast. I'm Sloan Fremont, filling in for Suzanne Harris. This is a podcast where listeners get the secret story behind every book. Joining me today is Danny G. Goju, author of the book, The Real Self-Defense for Women Only. This book is all about the prevention rather than the cure, which is only possible if you're aware of what needs to be prevented in the first place. It deals with preventing all attacks on women before they happen by spotting the signs that lead up to an attack and taking steps to avoid them. Danny has even written a song called Roar of the Tigress, which I'm sure we'll discuss more today in our interview. So Danny, I want to welcome you to the Books on Air podcast.
Thank you.
So let's start out by telling the audience just a little bit about yourself and how you came to write your book and the song.
Well, I write songs as a hobby, right? And then I'm actually a martial artist.
Okay.
And I don't know if you understand. I'm what they call a grandmaster. I'm the highest level of martial arts.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So you know your stuff.
Yes. I've been teaching for almost over 50 years.
Wow. Okay.
Martial arts. So I've been involved in that. I have my own system called the African Goju and the South American Goju. And this system is basically, you see, martial arts, I'm used to walking with confidence because I can fight.
Right.
And I'm used to, not fearing anybody. So I just thought, what about those who can't fight or who have no way of defending themselves?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd be teaching my students is, yes, you can know how to fight, but the most important thing is spotting the sign before it happens. So you don't need to fight.
Right.
It's the same thing with attacks on a woman.
Right.
The attacks on women, everybody seems to zoom in on the physical. Somebody punches a girl in the face, and that's the picture they show. But
Yeah.
what about all the attacks, the emotional attacks, the mental attacks, the sexual attacks happening in the homes, which nobody talks about? Or
Right.
the woman's even afraid to come out and say in case the husband beats her again. And another thing about the financial attacks, which is actually new, because recently women have been starting to make a lot of money.
Right.
And now, so there are certain men who are targeting women for their money.
Right.
Not that. You see, if you beat up a woman, the police will arrest you. So that is dying out slowly. Now people are finding new ways of hurting a woman. And the reason they're doing that is because a lot of men feel that basically their balls have been cut off. Women are on the up.
Right.
You understand what I mean? And they got nothing left to fight. They can't. So all they have left is their strength. And as a woman, you have to be aware that this threat is there. A man is physically stronger than a woman, not all,
Right.
in all cases, but I'll say in most cases.
Right.
So you have to think, what if this guy went crazy and punched me and killed me? So you have to spot these signs before they happen. And the way to stop it happening is to know the man before you even get into any relationship with him. When you first meet a man, just study him. Does he shout at you? Does he order you around? Does he say please, thank you, sorry? These little things become bigger things after 5 years or 10 years of marriage because he now has a ring on your finger, so he feels he owns you. But you knew he was a bully before you married him.
Right. Right.
You see, so at that point is where you have to stop. You see what I mean? That's why I say it's for women only. It can be for anybody really, but for women only is because you have to now be aware. Because
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, and that awareness. Okay, so let's talk about this because when we think about self-defense, often we think about the physical attacks, right? That's the first thing, the first obvious thing. But what you're bringing up and what you talk about in your book is the other layers of that, right? There's more than just the physical attack. You mentioned the financial, there's the emotional, right? There's the mental, all of this stuff. And you talk about the signs to look out for. So let's talk about maybe some of the signs because we know with physical, obviously, if someone that seems to be somewhat easy, right? Like you can tell if someone is coming at you, or you can tell if someone raised their hand, right? But what are some of the subtle signs maybe that women aren't aware of that they need to be to think about, start thinking in this way?
Okay. Well, the easiest one is when you start going out with somebody and he shouts at you.
Yeah.
You know, at that point, you have to tell him, look, I don't like you shouting at me.
Mm-hmm.
If he shouts at you again, the alarm bells go because it looks like this guy is not going to change. So break off. By the way, sorry, this is not working.
Yeah.
We're over. That's one.
Yeah.
That's the easiest one.
Yeah.
There are subtle ones like please, sorry, thank you. Now, once he said, he asks you, okay, I've seen it. I've been in people's houses. I'm talking to the husband because he's my friend. He tells the wife, oh, make us a cup of tea. You know, and okay, it's only a cup of tea. But he never said please. And so if he doesn't say please, now next thing is he's not going to say thank you. So in 5 years' time, sooner or later the woman is going to repel this. No, I'm not making a cup of tea. Make it yourself. Oh, really? So you think and that comes the violence.
Yeah, yeah.
Because now you've opposed him for the first time, all through your courtship, all through the getting married. You never said anything. You now
there's no boundaries, right? When there's no boundaries, they keep going.
That line in the sand.
Yeah, you know, as I'm hearing you talk about this, I'm reminded of the quote that says, "How you do one thing is how you do everything." Right. So if somebody is doing something as small as not saying please or not saying thank you, right? That's going to be a theme throughout their behavior.
Oh yeah,
with you,
and that's where the respect is already lost.
Yeah.
Why should he say thank you when he's been doing it all for years without saying thank you? Now all of a sudden you want him to say thank you or please.
Yeah.
You see, and it's very difficult.
It is. And it's these kinds of things too are very subtle, because I think a lot of it depends. I mean, I don't want to say depends, but if you grew up in a household where that was normal, right? You might not even know that somebody else, that it could be different, right? So there's a lot of factors that play in. And I think we, as women, we have to be very aware of these things. We have to be, and part of it too is understanding, like being able to verbalize what we do need and then speak up. And like you're saying, being able to set those boundaries.
And you see, I'm a man, I can say with certainty, all men are like children in different guises.
Right.
We need to be told what to do in certain.
And why is that though? As a man, why do you need to be told what to do? And why?
Because men, you see, we think the fun is in getting away with it. If I can get away with ordering you around, I'm sitting watching the sports with my beer, and you're busy hoovering around, that's wrong. Why should you sit down comfortable while you're doing all the work? But if you say nothing, you think, oh, she's a good woman, and you'll be singing her praises to everybody. Oh, my wife is good.
Yeah.
You got her under control because she's cleaning up after you. And that is another no-no, which has to be stamped out right from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's those boundaries. And I think, also as women being used to being the caretaker, right? You just get used to these things fall on you. And even now, a lot of women work from home, right? So then there's the expectation you're going to do your job at home, and then you're supposed to be the one that does all the housework and all, the cooking and all that too. And that's the balance is what I've seen is it's shifted so much that there's so much piled on women, and most women just take it and just do it, right? And don't think about their own needs or their own boundaries or their own, like that voice might be screaming in your head that this isn't right, but sometimes it's hard to identify, I think, what's actually wrong. And what we're talking about today are those little subtle things that seem insignificant, but actually are a smaller part of the whole, right, of the bigger problem.
Can I just give one last one for money?
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Go out for dinner. He takes you out for dinner. All of a sudden, he's forgot his wallet in the house.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll pay next time. If the next time he doesn't pay, you have to stop it. Where's my? Even if he borrows $1 from your purse without telling you, you have to tell him, you can't take my money like that. Oh, it's only $1. No, it's not only $1. You cross that boundary into my
You're
world.
violating my privacy. Yeah.
Women say nothing because it's only $1. But that dollar could become $5 in the future. It could become thousands. And next thing you know, why should I go to work when my wife is making money?
Yeah.
Or my girlfriend is making money, my partner, why do I have to work? And there's a lot of men now are playing golf while their women are working. And you see, this thing is, women have gone through hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of subjugation. They've finally gotten feminism to give them a bit of self-respect with equal pay.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? But even that with equal pay, my personal view is it shouldn't be equal pay. Women should get more than men. And the reason is that, no, it's not because I like women or they deserve more. They should get more because men have to feel what it feels like to earn less.
Yeah. Just
even for a year or two. Every company should say that when a woman starts work, she gets more than the men in her sector just for about a year or two. So that the men now feel, oh, so this is what it feels like to get less.
Yeah.
And that way it becomes equal pay. They'll have more empathy with what equal pay. Because right now, this equal pay, they think they're doing women a favor by giving them equal pay. If they're not.
And that feeling, what it feels like, in my own experience, it's hard to put some of the stuff that you go through into words, right? And if somebody can feel the other side of the coin, so to speak, then it takes on a completely different scenario. But then again here, this has to be, you have to be willing to speak up for yourself. You have to be willing to draw the line, set boundaries. You have to be willing to, I think what I've come to realize too is you have to be willing to be open to the fact that just because you grew up a certain way doesn't mean that it was correct. And it doesn't mean that things have to remain that way, right? Things can be different, but it starts with taking a stand for yourself. And I think that's hard for a lot of women. I know it's been hard for me in my life too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just a line in the sand.
Yeah. I want to talk, you had in your book, and I really like this, some of the witty retorts you can say, like if men try to chat you up. I know we're shifting gears a little bit, but if you're in the dating scene and you're, maybe you're going out and trying to meet people or, whatever. And, you had some funny responses that I really liked. Do you want to share a couple of those with the listeners?
For example, a woman, you see a woman at the bar, a guy comes out, let me buy you a drink. She probably say, no, I'd rather have the money. That you have to keep that sense of humor. Not get annoyed, get out, leave me alone. You have to know how to smooth your way out of it.
Yeah. And so I just want to say that again. So if a guy says, can I buy you a drink? And then your line could be, actually, no, I'd rather have the money. That's funny, right? I think that's funny.
Yeah. Or even the plastic surgeon one.
And then another one I liked is if he says, okay, so if a guy would say, I'm a photographer and I've been looking for a face like yours, and you say, I'm a plastic surgeon, I've been looking for a face like yours.
You need to have, because sometimes you have to smooth your way out.
Right.
Not angry all the time, no.
And I think when you start, so if you're dating and you're listening to this, sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves, right? We want to find the person, we want to find this perfect person, and we want to have this relationship, right? And we're so serious about it, right? And so when we're serious, we're like all tensed up and all stressed out. But if you can start to do this kind of stuff where you're a little bit easier about it and you can laugh about it and have a little more fun, I think that changes the type of person you're going to meet, because you're relaxed about it and you're not so, wound up, but it also brings humor to the situation. I mean, everybody's out there trying, right? Some people are worse at trying than others, but everybody's out there trying to find in the dating scene, they're out there trying to find another person. And so I think if you can bring some humor to it, which I loved about this, that, it just takes the pressure off.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about your song, The Roar of the Tigress. Tell me a little bit about that. And if you want to share some of the lyrics, I've got them up on the screen here too. I can read them.
I wrote the song because with the book, you can teach somebody. But if you have the song in mind, you can hum along with the same message. And if you hear the song, I take pride in my femininity.
Got the roar of a tigress inside me. That really means nobody controls me.
That's how I want every woman to be,
Yeah.
That's how I want every woman to be.
Have that song singing in your head. Oh yeah, I'm me. I'm proud of being a woman. I'm proud of who I am. Yes, I don't like what you do. If you don't do this or if you do this, we're over. You have to have that line, and that's what, if you remember in the middle of the song, you said, "Leave me alone. I'm on my own." She starts. These are the type of things some man will come up to you. Leave me alone. I'm on my own. You can't force me to go with you.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it when a club closes in the night.
Yes.
Some men are getting like, oh, let's go. I'll give you a lift. I'll give you a ride. No.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Why would I go with you?
It's taking that power back, right? Like realizing, I love that you've put a song to it, and I'm going to link to the song in the show notes as well, so the listeners can hear that. But I really love that. That, we can read it and we can conceptualize, but having the song and being able to have that in our mind to remind ourselves, and especially when those situations come up, right? Because when something happens and you're trying to because I think a lot of this too is about creating different behaviors for ourselves, right? Like having to doing something a little bit different to get different results. And so, I think that's great. I love that you've got your experience with, martial arts, and you're at the top there, your stuff, and then also being able to put that to music. And I do really love that you've taken, martial arts, a sport that, mostly you would think of men, but you're taking the other side of this. Like you're seeing that other side and you're putting that, out there in a way that I don't think is ever really talked about. So I really like how that, everything fits together, how you've done that.
I wish I met you before. You really understand what I'm trying to do. You do. Thank you.
Well, and so I want to talk because we're getting ready to wrap up here. Our time has went really fast, but I
know.
Before we close out today, and my guest today has been Danny G. Goju, the author of the book, The Real Self-Defense for Women Only. Before we close out, what do you hope the listeners or the readers of your book take away after reading your book?
Well, after reading, I just hope there'll be a shift in attitude, and not all men are bad, but they can all be tailored to suit you, because every woman is different. So what you would want in a man, it could be something different, but you have to let him know what you want.
Yeah.
And don't expect him to already know it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love you, but I didn't like the way you were drunk last night, tried to kiss me in public. I didn't like it. So please don't do that again. You'd be nice. The next time it happens, look, you're doing it again. If it happens again, we're over. And you have to stick to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold the line, right? Hold that line in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like there that you point out about you have to tell them, right? We have to tell, I think a lot of times we expect people to read our minds, and that never works. So, Danny, I want to thank you for joining us today. This has been an excellent interview. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. All right.
Thank you for joining us today. And you can find more about the book, The Real Self-Defense for Women Only, on Amazon. And I'll link to the book in the show notes.
It's called The Roar of the Tigress.
Yes, I'll The Roar of the Tigress for your song, and then your book. I'll also link so that people can hear, get to the book too. Mm-hmm. You've been listening to the Books on Air podcast, brought to you on webtalkradio.net. You can also hear this podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Sloan Fremont, and I hope you'll join us for the next Books on Air podcast. Remember, you never know who's going to be here, and you never know what we're going to talk about. Thank you so much for listening.